United Nations Human Rights Release. Unlawful killings in Gaza City. Received disturbing information alleging the IDF summarily killed at least 11 unarmed Palestinian men in front of their family members in Al Rimal neighborhood, Gaza City, which raises alarm about the possible commission of a war crime. The Israeli authorities must immediately institute an independent, thorough, and effective investigation into these allegations, which, if found to be substantiated, those responsible must be brought to justice and measures simply. Nothing is going to happen from this. The IDF is fully aware of the fact that their soldiers are executing Palestinians. On the 19th of December, between 8 and 11 p.m., IDF reportedly surrounded and raided Al Auda building, also known as the Anan building in Al Rimal neighborhood, Gaza City, where 3 related families were sheltering in addition to Anan family. According to witness accounts circulated by media sources and Euromed Human Rights Monitor, while in control of the building and the civilian sheltering there, the IDF allegedly separated the men from the women and children, then shot and killed at least 11 of the men, mostly aged in their late 20s to early 30s, in front of their family members. The IDF then allegedly ordered the women and children into a room and either shot at them or threw a grenade into the room, reportedly seriously injuring some of them, including an infant and a child. OHCHR has confirmed the killings at Al Abdua building. Although the details and circumstances of the killing are still under verification, the IDF has not released any information on the incident. Probably safe to assume it happened, yeah. Oh, Frost Throne, we've defended far worse for our geopolitical interests. Well, that we know of, Dead Raccoon. They only found the corpses. The West Bank this year has seen its highest death toll since it began recording in 2005. Yeah, makes sense. Killings of Palestinian children are soaring in the West Bank. Advocates say it happens with impunity. Yep. Israeli settlers literally just given guns by the IDF and wandering around with IDF soldiers, just like massacring Palestinians and taking their shit. If you resist, they shoot you. Yep. No Hamas here. Just taking stuff. Just taken. Assad comes out as a Holocaust denier. That's not really surprising. Most of us do not know the rise of Nazism between the 2 world wars happened with American support. I mean, to the extent that, like, they cribbed our ideas on eugenics and there was international business collaboration, sure, but not really, like, governmental support. I feel like that's kind of deliberately dishonest, which, of course, he will be. It's Assad. Not to say that our hands are clean in that, but the implication that, like, the United States government was backing the Nazi government or whatever. It's also the Russian propaganda line, which is funny because the Soviets did work with the Nazis. How's it, despite the German collapse and European constraints, Nazism was allowed to rise and build an army? It was done with American support money, loans, and investments. Again, this is a pretty dishonest... Oh, here we go. I don't even want to read this out loud because I'll get clipped for it. But what shows you that this is a politicized issue and not a real humanitarian issue is that how come we talk about these 6 million but not about the 26 million Soviets killed in the war? Are those 6 million more precious? The same acts were everywhere. There was no method of torture or killing specific to the Jews. Okay, yeah, just extremely clear Holocaust denial. The Nazis used the same methods everywhere. That's not true. However, this issue is politicized in order to falsify the truth and later to prepare for the transfer of the Jews from Europe to other areas, or rather to Palestine. Well, that's pretty direct and straightforward. Assadists are the worst, yeah. Can you link it? I want to verify the translations. Sure, yeah. My guy at here acting like you can't mention how many Soviets died. You know what's funny, actually? The big, like, ethnic displacement that people actually don't talk about, because the people who talk about it are almost always, like, Nazi apologists, is the mass Soviet displacement of German-speaking people back into Germany after they reconquered the area that would later become the full Soviet Union. Something like 1.6 million Germans were forcibly relocated. Now, to be fair, the only reason the Germans were there was because of... well, no, that's not true. There were lots of German-speaking people in those areas even before World War II, but that was undeniably an ethnic cleansing, yeah. They were trying to... because a lot of people were really mad at the Germans after World War II. Can't imagine why. So they were like, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll just take every German there and yoink them. Yeah, Prussians. A lot of them were there as a product of the war effort, but yeah. A lot of them had been there for a very long time. They're called Fulga Germans? Ah, okay. For some reason, this is one of the few crimes the USSR that tankies will admit to, because they do like oh, well, they deserved it kind of thing, which is pretty dumb, obviously. Like, you know, the 2 ethnic cleansings, or 1 Holocaust and 1 ethnic cleansing do not a correct decision make. You know, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Did I see Stephen Miller's recent Fox appearance? It's so funny to me how the most actively, like, Nazi people are the most, clearly have the most degenerative blood. You know, Stephen Miller is what, like 38? And he looks this way? How are you going to talk about the superiority of the white race, man?
You used the right word. We are being conquered. This is a complete resettlement of America in real time. It took hundreds of years.
So again, Stephen Miller is an explicit white nationalist. He worked with the Trump administration and produced documents which made his political framing extremely clear. He was an advocate for basically any policy or any decision making that would remove non-white people from the United States. It's not ambiguous.
Going back long even before our founding, going back all the way to the earliest days of the colonies in America, to slowly build everything that we have.
Oh yeah, he had sorry, I was looking at the wiki article to remind myself. He's promoted articles from VDARE and American Renaissance. American Renaissance, the Jared Taylor rag. So yeah, again, it's not subtle with him. Very, very cool of Fox to just have a Nazi on to agree with Trump's comments on the southern border.
And now when you have millions of people coming in from different cultures and different ways of living and different belief systems, they're going to take those belief systems with them to America. So a generation from now, I am telling you, Jesse, people will not know the country that they are living in. These consequences are permanent. Unless there is massive, large-scale deportations by the millions, it will be irrevocable.
As opposed to what happens to culture when there's only one racial group in a country, which is it doesn't change. Everyone knows this about how countries are. When you only have one race in a country, the culture stays exactly the same and change stops. That's how it works. Culture can only change. So this belief system is, of course, a consequence of the racialist belief that culture and race are inseparable, that white people have a certain culture and like brown people have their own culture, and that the only way cultures can change is if they intermix. Which, a couple of quick questions. Why are there 50 million cultures within the United States for white people? Why are there a bunch of different cultures amidst genetically similar people in Europe? Why do they have massively different cultures there? Why is it that brown people who have lived in America for decades have basically the same cultural inclinations of white people in the neighborhoods that they're in, whereas white people who live in different countries have very different inclinations? Why is it that there's no evidence of culture following race and every evidence, like all evidence indicating the opposite, that culture just follows location and environment, you know? Even if there were only white people in the United States, that doesn't stop culture from changing. Like, that just culture changes. That's how it is. Anyway, pretty straightforward. Not each month, Rodzilla 2K. Probably 3 million a year. What's that guy's official Hitler particle rating? Stephen Miller is just a Nazi. Clearly. He's like Richard Spencer tier, okay? There's no Hitler particle. He's just Hitler, okay? It's very, very unambiguous here. So, yeah.